What's up guys, it's your boy Naughty here. Welcome back to another video. So today we have Pure Cyber Dragons going second, going up against Maliss. So we lost the rock, paper, scissors and our opponent chose to go first, which is perfectly fine with us. We are going second. Boom. Now let's hop right into the duel. So in our opponent's opening hand they have Imperm, Perulia, 2 Impulse and a Terraforming. In our hand we have Cyberdark Worm, Thrust, Forwalos, Cyberdark Realm, and we have a Molchami Perulia. 2 Molchamis perfectly fine with us. Really good hand, especially for us going second. The only player opponent has is Terraforming, but hey, Terraforming is a 1-card starter. Opponent doesn't have to complain. So let's see what happens in this video. So opponent is going to enter their standby phase, and I will choose to activate Perulia before the main phase, before they do a normal summon. Opponent has no response. In the main phase, opponent will activate Terraforming, search for Maliss in the underground. We have no draw, so opponent can continue playing by activating Maliss in the underground, use its effect to banish the Dormouse. Dormouse banished effect to summon itself, paying 600. 600? Is it 600? 300 life points, sorry. On summon effect, Dormouse will now banish the White Rabbit, then White Rabbit's banish effect, which is perfectly fine with us. On summon effect, White Rabbit will set a Maliss trap, which will be the GWC. Now, on resolution, I choose to activate Forwalos before my opponent link summons, because typically they either link summon when they have a single Maliss monster or when they have 2. Here they could typically go into Splash Mage, or it could be Lingaribo, etc. So on resolution, I decide to just activate Forwalos. Opponent lets it go through, they have no response. They normal summon Perulia from the hand, so we get 1 draw, we join to call by. Then they'll link summon into Maliss Red Ransom. We get another draw of that, which is another Forwalos, but we can't activate it because we already activated 2 Molchamis, and the card says you can only activate 1 other Molchami monster effect. So the Forwalos in our hand currently is a dead card. Red Ransom will search for Maliss in the mirror, and here our opponent decides to set the Impulse, set the Maliss in the mirror, and set Impermanence, and they will just pass for turn, not to give us any more draws. So we start our turn and redraw into a Cyberdark Claw. Enter the main phase. I decided just to activate Forwalos because I wasn't sure what these 3 other cards were, in case it was a card that just happens to summon from the deck or from the extra deck, for example. So I just decided to activate Forwalos in the main phase. Next, I activate Cyberdark Claw to search for a Cyberdark spell or trap, and here we search for Cybernetic Horizon because we already have Cyberdark Realm in our hand. Here I activate Cybernetic Horizon, so just for you guys who don't know, as cost, send 2 Cyber Dragon and or Machine Cyber monsters with different attributes to the graveyard, 1 each from your hand and deck. Add 1 Dragon or Machine Cyber monster from your deck to your hand, and if you do, send 1 Machine Cyber Fusion monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. So we're going to send the Cyberdark Worm, which is currently in our hand, and we're going to send a Cyber Dragon Hertz. So it can be 2 dragons and or machine cyber. So we send 2 machines and they have different attributes. 1 is light, 1 is dark, and 1 was sent from the hand, the other was sent from the deck. So this perfectly checks out if I'm not mistaken. So that is sent as cost. Opponent has no response, so we're going to add Cyber Dragon Core to our hand, and it is compulsory. You have to send a fusion monster to the extra deck. And that fusion monster, to the graveyard. So that fusion monster we're going to send is Cyber Eternity Dragon. That's the ideal target to send. On resolution, opponent has no draw. On resolution, after activating Cyber Dragon Hertz as channeling 1, opponent has no draw, which is perfectly fine for us. And so opponent is going to let it go through, and we're going to search Cyber Dragon to our hand. Special summon the Cyber Dragon. Opponent has no response, so we'll just simply contact Fuse into Mega Fleet Dragon. Opponent chooses to activate GWC to reborn, and here I decide, okay, if he does have MTP 7 set, or he's able to get to it, which he will because he has the option to reborn White Rabbit, let me just activate Call by the Grave so that we can at least get rid of the Red Ransom, because number 1, if it does get banished, Red Ransom won't be able to use its effect. Opponent can choose to summon the Red Ransom, they have that option, But if they don't have access to MTP, they'll choose to summon the White Rabbit, which is what they do. So they summon the White Rabbit effect to set the MTP 07. Next, we normal summon Core effect. It will get hit with Imperm, perfectly fine with us. We do already have Cyberdark Realm in our hand. Here I decide to activate Triple Tactics Thrust, and since our opponent controls a monster, we get to add talents to our hand, and we get to activate talents because our opponent did activate a monster effect during the main phase. And here I decide, let me just look at my opponent's hand in case it was a Nibiru or an Impulse, and turns out it was an Impulse, so we are going to shuffle that back into the deck. Next, I link summon into Skystrike Ace Azalea. So just another key note, guys, in case you don't know, Cybernetic Horizon does lock you from the extra deck by only summoning machine monsters. So you can't go into SP or non-machines, and Azalea is a machine monster, so we are perfectly fine going into this guy. Just needs 2 light and or dark monsters, and if this card is special summoned, you can target 1 card on the field and destroy it. So we're going to target this set card, which happens to be Maliss in the Mirror. Opponents is thinking if they want to chain it, and they choose not to, so it will get destroyed. And also the other effect, if we did have 3 spells or less in our grave, Azalea does go to grave, but since we have 4, Azalea gets to stay on the field. Next, continuing our play, we activate Cyberdark Worm. As cost, we send Cyber Dragon Nashter because we already used Hurt's effect, and our opponent decides to use their set Dominus Impulse on this to negate the special summon of Cyberdark Worm. Next, I decide to activate the Cyber Eternity Dragon. It does have a graveyard effect where not that one. So confusing. Here it is. You can banish this card from your graveyard as cost. This turn, your opponent cannot target fusion monsters you control with card effects. Also, they cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Pretty cool effect to have. So this is the reason why people typically send this off Cybernetic Horizon and they play this in the extra deck. Opponent has no response, of course, he was just taking a second to read it. Then we proceed, activate Cyberdark Realm. Cyberdark Realm will search Cyberdark Chimera, use Realm's effect to normal summon Chimera, then Chimera will link summon into Clockwork Knight. I was thinking on my chain links, I go chain link 1, Clockwork Knight. I don't use Chimera's effect, of course, it's not needed, so Clockwork Knight will search as the continuous spell. Then we use Clockwork Knight's effect, targeting Chimera, and the really good thing about Skystrike Ace Azalea is it is a machine, so we can use this effect of Clockwork Knight, summon Chimera, and tribute Azalea to the graveyard. Chimera's effect, discarding Clockwork Knight to search for Power Bond. Now we are able to fusion summon and banish materials from grave. I was thinking what to link summon into, but then I realized I don't have any ideal targets, so instead we'll just proceed to activate Power Bond, banishing Cyberdark Worm because it's treated as a Cyber Dragon while in the graveyard, and Cyber Dragon himself. Fusion summon into Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon. On summon effect, pop his set card, which is the MTP, and as well as the field spell. Opponent will chain MTP 07, banish the White Rabbit as cost, add March Head to the hand. Opponent is thinking on what he wants to activate, so he will use White Rabbit effect to summon itself back. And then I was thinking if there's any other plays, but of course we're going to use Rampage Dragon effect to send 2 light machine monsters to the grave so that our boy can attack 3 times. I want to enter battle phase, and still in the main phase, opponent will activate March Hare, banishing the Dormouse, summon March Hare from the hand. Dormouse effect will summon itself onto the field just to put bodies on the field to try to protect our opponent's life points. Sorry, protect his life points. We're not trying to protect it. Here I was thinking, will I still have access to go for game, which I will be because Cyberdark Chimera and Clockwork Knight were in attack position, and thankfully all the Maliss monsters in the main deck, well, and extra deck, because they have no defense. But point is, they have less than 500 defense, so Chimera and Clockwork Knight cannot destroy 2 monsters. Rampage Dragon can use 1 attack to get rid of the 3rd body, and we still have 2 more attacks, which is 8,400 damage in total, and that's plenty for game. So our opponent scoops, and we hop into game number 2. So opponent did choose to go first, so we are going second. In our opening hand, we have Polymerization, Cyberdark Claw, Cyberdark Realm, Cyber Dragon Core, Clockwork Knight. Opponent has Nibiru, Chessy Cat, Furwalos, Duel, and an Infinite Impermanence. So I believe Chessy Cat on its own actually doesn't do anything, so that's unfortunate for our opponent. And simply they just pass for turn. They have 4 hand traps, perfectly fine for them. We start our turn and we draw into Artifact Lancia. Really good against Maliss. I was happy to see that in my hand. Enter the main phase, normal summon core effect, search for cyber emergency, and on resolution, opponent will hit us with the draw. Unfortunately, with this build, pure cyber dragons, you can't really play around draw. Draw is our biggest enemy. So I was just spending a few minutes to think what I could do. All I can do is just activate Clock Knight to act as a floodgate. We enter battle phase, attack for 900 damage, and we simply pause for turn and hope for the best. Opponent draws into a thrust. They enter the main phase and they just simply pause for turn. Perfectly fine with us. We don't have to waste the artifact lance here. So we draw for turn and we draw into Maliss. Unfortunately, that is a dead card. So we enter the main phase, activate Cyber Emergency. Here I decide to search just for another core because we can get another search off this core. So we normal summon the core effect. Opponent will chain Imperm to negate. Then our opponent will activate for Wallos. We have no response to that, nothing to stop that. So now we have to keep in mind about Mulchummy for Wallos and how many cards we want to give our opponent to draw. I activate Cyberdark Realm. We're going to search for Cyberdark Chimera. Realms effect to normal summon our Chimera. Now here I could have linked into Clockwork Knight before using Chimera Tech, Cyberdark Chimera, but simply I am using Cyberdark Chimera's effect now. Now, I guess what I should have done was not send Poly because you can use Polymerization to fusion summon into Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon. So I think ideally I should have just committed into going into Clockwork Knight to get the other Clockwork Knight to our hand so that we can discard that instead, just to keep Poly in our hand in case Cyberdark Chimera does get negated later on and we can't get Power Bond to our hand. That is probably the best ideal play, even though it will give our opponent a draw. But hey, it did work out. Opponent had no response to that, so we do get Power Bond to our hand, so we are perfectly fine here. And now here, I was thinking, okay, cool. He still has 2 cards in his hand that I don't know. I actually don't know any of the cards in his hand. And we do know our opponent is playing Impulse. Maybe Nibiru, but definitely Impulse. So we need something to protect ourselves. So I had to get access to Therion King Regulus. So I used Chimera, since we already used its effect to search for Power Bond. We're going to go into Clockwork Knight. Opponent draws into an Ash Blossom. So Chainlink 1 will be Chimera, Chainlink 2 will be Clockwork Knight. What I actually should have done was rather just go Chainlink 1 Clockwork Knight, Chainlink 2 Chimera, because if our opponent does Ash Chimera, it's perfectly fine. We still have 2 Cyber Dragon names on the field already. Our priority was just to get this Clockwork Knight into grave so that we can search for Therion King Regulus. But resolving the chain, we get our second copy of Clockwork Knight and we send Cyberdark Worm to the grave. Then we activate Clockwork Knight's effect, banishing itself and discarding Maliss because it's a dead card. We search for our boy Therion King Regulus. Activate Regulus, we're going to equip the Cyberdark Chimera to it. Now we have our negate for Impulse, or if our opponent was playing Nibiru, that as well. And here, my opponent did leave the game because Regulus will negate, let me just close this. Regulus will negate Nibiru, and if I fusion summon, boom, I use these 2 bodies going to Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon, he'll be at 4200 attack. If I use the effect to send 2 light machine monsters and he ashes, that's perfectly fine because we still have Cyberdark Worm's Graveyard effect to put an extra body, and when we activate Clockwork Knight, boost our monsters by 500 attack, and that will be perfectly fine. That is enough for game. So guys, Cyber Dragons takes the win against Maliss. GG's. That's how it's done. And unlucky for our opponent, they didn't have any Maliss extenders or combos in this game, but they had tons of hand traps and we were just able to play under them. So we took the W. And guys, that brings us to the end of the video. Naughty Nev signing out. Peace.